You know what sucks? Smart televisions, particularly the ones made by Roku. The rule of thumb with technology in general these days is if you want to go one step forward, you need to take several steps back for whatever reason. For a piece of tech called a smart TV, you'd think it would go above and beyond what a standard HD TV is capable of. But nope, the interface can be very laggy and will freeze up at times, although it isn't that common for it to crash. Meanwhile, navigating the menus of an older HD TV model from the late 2000s is like a hot knife through a stick of butter. The reason for the poor performance on legacy or budget devices is not only because of the newer versions being more strenuous on the hardware, but also because of the freaking ads. You heard me right, the TV itself, not even just the apps and services included on there, has ads. There's the ones that appear on the home page, and there's also the more recent pause ads, which will appear if you have a video or movie paused and you're AFK, if that's the right word. There is an easy solution to the ad problem, and that's to disconnect the TV from the internet. They can't send out ads if there's no way for the ad services to connect to it. For that reason, I don't have my TV connected to the internet, and instead, I watch all my services either through my PS5 or my laptop. There's also some privacy issues with Roku devices, since the company sells users private data, which is why you want to be careful. Not to mention, smart TVs have software updates, and fortunately they are not forced unlike Samsung or Windows updates, which I've already talked about in a video last year. It's already bad enough I have to update my cell phone, computer, and game console. What's next? Software updates for toasters and thermostats? In version 3.1, we are now removing the ability to turn the heat higher than 60 degrees to reduce carbon emissions. We don't give a shit if it's minus 40 degrees outside during the dead of winter. You can freeze to death for all we care. But seriously, imagine. Don't even get me started on the remotes that come with smart TVs. They have nowhere near enough buttons for casual use, and it seems like it was solely designed for streaming. Where's the guide button? Where's the number keypad? Most important of all, where on God's green earth is the input button? They didn't have enough room for those, but they did have room to have 4 separate buttons dedicated to a streaming service. This has to be my biggest gripe by far. On old HD TVs, it's way easier to change the input by having a dedicated button for it, and you can quickly switch between all your inputs you have set up. With Roku TV, you have to go all the way back to the home screen and scroll through all the tiles until you find the input you want to switch to. I know you can rearrange the tiles so the inputs are at the very top, but I'd rather have an input button so I can cycle through all my inputs faster. About the guide button. If you don't have a dedicated antenna TV tuner like a Tableau DVR, you have no choice but to use Roku's janky built-in guide, which is very laggy and slower than molasses. If you want to pull up the guide, you have to hold the left and right button on the D-pad simultaneously. Who would have ever thought of that? If you want to use your smart TV for watching over-the-air broadcasts, it's not very convenient, and I recommend using a tuner or a DVR device. I don't know if it's just me, but the Roku TV remote feels way too small and it's uncomfortable to hold. It feels like I'm holding a bar of soap. Who did they design this for? The underpants gnomes? Also, you know the battery cover on the back? If you even knock it off a low coffee table by accident, the cover flies off and the batteries roll away out of sight. I definitely see the argument that older TV remotes, usually the ones meant for cable boxes, have way too many buttons and most of them you would never use, such as the red, green, yellow, and blue circles. However, I believe that the smart TV remote controls are too minimalistic and don't have enough buttons, and you have to go through a bunch of hoops just to get to where you want to be. For someone like myself who uses their TV for multimedia purposes, I like having a dedicated button for everything instead of a one-size-fits-all style system. In all fairness, the saying goes, you get what you pay for, after all. No wonder they are able to sell certain high-def and even 4K televisions for that cheap. Other brands and more high-end models don't have most of these issues, other than the minimalistic remotes, but of course, come at a heftier cost. You know what? The next opportunity I get to splurge on a new TV, I'm going with one of the older HD TVs. It's very healthy to live in the past and let go of the depressing modern world. It's true. Calling an HD TV old just feels odd, and that is why smart TVs, mainly Roku TV, sucks. Well, I mainly made this video to rant about the remotes not having enough buttons, and added a few more annoyances about smart TVs to make the video feel more complete.